Outlook Africa is on air. I'm Noor Fatima. Today, 8 centuries of history behind the mystery. We'll tell you the fascinating story of the Sidis, Indians of African descent. Why did their ancestors come to India? Where did they come from? Why are they called the Sidis? Be ready to hear the tale of India's lost black Africans. Namaste.
Outlook Africa for you on Radio Amity 107.8 FM. Hi, I'm Ojo Oyindamola. We bring today to the mainstream the tales of forgotten diaspora of Africans in India who still struggle to trace their roots back to Africa. Join Outlook Africa. Stay with us.
We are also joined in this program by our colleagues Richie and Yohan. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, No.
Afro-Indians, Indians of African origin in India. You know, they are numbered about 35,000 who were settled in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala and Karnataka, and in the former Portuguese territories of Daman and Goa. Today their number is estimated to be, guess what, 76,000 in Gujarat alone. I mean, that is huge, man.
Of course, ma'am. So this is the story of a community which is growing so faster. As you said in the beginning, there was about 35,000 people.
Yeah, now it's 76,000.
And today, 76,000 people in Gujarat alone.
I have a report with me from Census of India, and they said in 1971, cities in Gujarat were about 5,000 people.
1971.
Yeah, but nowadays the number has increased because of the migration from the Mumbai region.
Yeah, mainly to the Mumbai region.
So it means people are actually moving from Mumbai to the Gujarat region.
Yes.
So these are the people of Sidis origin who are maybe considering Gujarat to be their home.
Maybe. Also, we have in the past the Sudan and the Ethiopian prisoners of the war were sold as slaves to other African rulers who sold them to slave trade, what in turn brought them back to the Mid East and Indian, as later as the beginning of the 20th century.
So this is a story which goes back to the slavery time, So people from Ethiopia and other parts of Africa were actually sold to many places like in Asia, like in Europe, and to serve.
Yeah, especially the Mid East and Indian.
Especially in the Mid East, because during that time, as you can understand, India was British India.
Yeah, that was last 20th century.
Yeah, of course. And with the building of the railway and the transport communication here in India, so almost the British India was in need of people, of course, for manpower. So these manpower actually came from Africa.
African soldiers in India appears to be more freemen, and we can say mercenary. But in some houses, they were working not like slaves. We can say they were kind of domestic.
So what you said is right, because once the CD came to settle here in India, like you said, in the beginning they were sold as slave, but after the course of time, most of them actually also came, they came to become freemen, They have involved themselves in business, in trade, like you said. So that's the best part of the story.
The question many scholars raise today is as to how Sidis came to settle in India. I mean, that's a good question. We can imagine India being a conservative country during those centuries. A caste-dominated society. It has always been so. How they came to settle? Richie, let's get this from you.
Of course. So there is a little controversy about how the CD came to settle here in India, and I think even in the CD community itself there is that controversy. Some of them say they came from Congo, some of them said they came from Togo, from Kenya, from Gabon, and many they don't exactly know from where they came or what is exactly their origin. But according,
they know that they're African.
Of course. So, but according to one research which has been done, and there is one commonly accepted legend, which was written by Patel in 1986. So it is said that the founder of the CD settlement in Gujarat, actually came from Kano in Nigeria. Nigeria.
Really?
It's exactly where where you came. Where you came.
Yeah,
So
from Nigeria.
this is a commonly accepted tale, which is saying that that man came actually from Kano in Nigeria, and he came to India through Sudan, and he went to Mecca for his pilgrimage. So he was not actually a slave. He was a free man, he was a leader, and he was a wealthy merchant, you know. So in nowadays also in India, since that one is accepted like a common tale of the origin of these guys, so you can find in Gujarat maybe some breads or some hills which also hold the name of that man.
Yeah, exactly, Richie. Africans in Indian works as soldiers. We have them as sailors. We have them as traders, bureaucrats, clerks, bodyguards, even concubines. And almost all these Africans were Muslims.
Okay.
And many were slaves conscripted into slaves' armies of Indians, Muslim rulers.
Okay.
They were being converted into slavery.
So
slaves.
basically,
So all these
basically,
Muslim rulers
yeah.
over here.
Okay, the
And,
Nawaz.
as early as 1459,
Okay.
the Muslim king of Bengal maintained an army of 8,000 African slaves. I think that is so much. 8,000 African slaves just for one king.
I think that was the glorious time of slavery, you know. And as you said, you got a point exactly, Ohinda. So during that time, you know, many Africans who came here in India as slaves, they came, as Yohan said in the beginning, to occupy some official position. So among these people was one man called Malik Amba. So he was a very educated man. He was born a slave in 1550 in Ethiopia. So he was educated by his master, and after that he became a Muslim. Like you said, many Sidis here in India were Muslim. So after he has been educated by his master, he became, like I said, a Muslim. So once his master died, taking into consideration his education and his background, he was sold to a slave trader and taken to India. That's exactly how he came. So in India, he was purchased by one king, Genghis Khan.
Of course, Richie. The King Khan, impressed by Amba's education, promoted him to a high military rank. But after the king died, Amba was again sold. But when he was sold, he became again a good military commander.
That exactly. So it means that that man was a really distinguished officer. He was a distinguished officer.
He was made to be a military, of course.
Yes, Johan. I think Amber played an enormous role during that time. It's believed in 1590, Amber requested money from the king to train Arab soldiers. The king refused, and in protest, Amber left the army and took several Arab soldiers with him. They formed their own army. Soon, other men joined in, until almost 1,500 men were included in its rank. Various kings in the Deccan area of India hired this army to defend their kingdoms.
Means they were working like mercenary.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So like we said, that man Amba was a distinguished officer. Like when he came to form an army of over 1,500 people.
Yeah.
So many kings and princely states in India actually used to use the workforce actually during conflict.
Let's go for our first break. Outlook Africa will be right back on Radio Amity 107.8 FM. Listening to Radio Amity 107.8 FM, and this is still Outlook Africa.
Mother died of heart attack many years ago when she heard that you were married again. Now I'm the only one left in the family. Tell me wherever you are, remember me in whatever you do. I love you. Tell me wherever you are, remember.
Welcome back to Outlook Africa, Radio Amity 107.8 FM. If you have just joined us, we're discussing the tale of a forgotten African community in India. They are known as the Siddis. We're discussing the current issue faced by this community, and we're joined in this program by Richie, Yohan. Basically, Richie, he published a work on the Siddhi civilization. A fascinating research. More than in Karnataka, the Siddis of Gujrat have preserved elements of an African heritage, expressed in music, songs, stories, and uniquely African musical instruments. The legislation of 1948 of the Indian Constitution gives some special status to vulnerable classes such as the pariahs, who are categorized under scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other backward classes. Like for Indians also, they have the scheduled caste system, the scheduled tribe systems, and they have preserved some liberties for them.
Of course.
These vulnerable classes now enjoy some benefits from the government of India, with what is known as the reservation policy, where some seats are particularly reserved to these classes in the Indian society. So are we in the same case here, Richie, with the Siddis?
Not exactly, ma'am. Let's first come to the reservation policy. As you said, what is reservation? I think we need to make people first understand what is the reservation policy as per the Indian government policies. Reservation is actually some part of power and some part of benefit which were reserved, since 1948, which were reserved to discriminated classes. As you know, during the British India, some part of people, like you just mentioned, the pariah, has been highly discriminated. They had to keep themselves in housework, they had to keep themselves as watchmen, as watchwomen, they had sometimes also to submit to high labor, So once India accessed to independence in 1947, so these people were granted some benefit, because the most interesting part during that time was that they should make these people feel Indians. That's exactly what the reservation policies means. But we are not actually in the same case here, as the Sidis have been fighting, they've been trying to get some recognition from many years from now from the Indian government. And in many places here in India, they still don't have that chances, to be granted a specific category or a specific caste, except in Karnataka, as you said, they have been granted a class as OBC, other backward classes. But again, we need to analyze that,
under Article 342
of the IPC. Yeah. But again, we should analyze that. How many Indians themselves are under that category of OBC? So it makes millions and billions of people.
Of course.
Exactly. So benefits are almost minor, but at least it's something for Sidis who have settled in Karnataka, compared to other Sidis in Gujrat who are still not allotted any category.
That is a kind of plus for them.
Yes, the Sidis have seen the rise of the musical band Sidi Goma as a major opening, and since some of the best known performers have joined together in the Sidi Goma group.
When we want to express something, we should find a way of expression. And for the Sidi,
it's music.
It's music. And they called it Sidi Goma.
Okay.
And Sidi Goma has been played all over in the world.
Of course, Yohan, as you said, music is another way of expression today, especially for a population which we might say is marginalized, So the CD have seen the rise of that musical band, Sidi Goma, as a major happening for them, So at least with the Sidi Goma, as you said, they've been able to perform everywhere in the world. So the kind of performance the Sidi Goma are doing is kind of a mixture of mystical Sufi chants and some sacred music from the Sufi's origin. Sufis is another tradition here, which is actually a mix-up of the African tradition and the Indian tradition, both mixed up together. So this is a way these people have fun, to express themselves, to bring even the fight everywhere in the world.
Of course, Richie. India enjoys a lot. And there is an international festival hosted by the Indian Ministry of Cultural Affairs and the ICCR. That's the Indian Council for Cultural Relation, called the Sufi International Festival, to celebrate this long-standing tradition of the Siddis, which makes it almost a world heritage.
I think that was the festival I was in.
That's good.
In Sarajkund.
I should have taken me with you.
Next time I'll take it.
Yeah, sure. The Sidis of Gujrat are a tribal Sufi community of East African origin, which came to India 8 centuries ago and made Gujarat their home. They carried with them their exceptionally rich musical tradition and kept it alive and flourishing through the generations, unknown to the rest of the world.
The Sidis who came from Eastern Africa are the most specific one, among the cities who have settled here in India. Because if you take the cities in Karnataka, for example, there have been cities and they are still cities for many years. But the cities who are in Gujarat, actually, they have been able to conserve, the African originality. And that exactly the people I met in Sarajkund, they played sacred music, and they use all this kind of African dance, jumping,
I mean, that is really good. I mean, they did not lose or, they did not forget their original roots, right?
Of course. So the native African music styles, melodic style, and that rhythmic structure they try to mix up everywhere, and the lyrics and this musical instrument they use, they special, what is special with these people is they even use musical instruments from Africa. So you have all these instruments like djembe, lokole from Africa. They try a little bit to mix it with some Indian traditional instrument, and it gets original and especially amazing.
Sidi Goma performed in a group of 12. We have the 4 leaders and the drummers and the singers and 8 dancers. Why the music gradually gets more rapid and excited. The dancer unfold with constantly evolving individual, a small group of acts of animals, like coconuts breaking feet, and the program also features solo and instruments resemble the Brazilian berimbau, or what do you call that?
Berimbau.
Yeah, berimbau, as well as prayer calls and sit ritual songs like as well as prayer calls and seated ritual songs, on which they make as a music and melody for people to dance and to listen to.
Of course, ma'am. So I think the coconut breaking feat is the most amazing moment, when the Sidi Goma are performing. I still recall in my mind that man, throwing a coconut in the air, then breaking it with his head, that was amazing.
That's
I was
football.
I was like, what's going on in there? That's a very kind of different football, because you don't mix up with a coconut. It's heavy, it can even break your head. So I was amazed, the way that man was doing that. So he just, after breaking the coconut, he brought it actually to one Congolese lady who was sitting there. Then he said, take it and hit, and we were like, oh my day, that's exactly that.
If you think you have seen it all, think again. This is a rare opportunity to discover the joyful and exuberant devotional music and dance of the hidden community of Sidi African Indians from Gujarat. And here we make our second stop with this beautiful song, and we'll be right back after the break on Outlook Africa. Are listening to Radio Amity 107.8 FM, and this is still Outlook Africa. Back to Outlook Africa, Radio Amity 107.8 FM. If you have just joined us, we're discussing the tale of a forgotten African community known as the Sidis. We're discussing the current issues faced by this community. We are joined in this program by Richie and Yohan. And also Oyenda, sorry. Oyenda, tell us a bit more about the issues faced by this lost community in India.
Yes, Fatima. Before the break, we discussed the issue of citizenship. Most of the Sidi, after over 600 years, still are not granted the Indian citizenship, and there is not an appropriate caste class for the Sidi.
Yeah, that's a shocking issue. Like we said in the beginning, there are still cities who want to trust their African roots.
That's what is happening nowadays, Yohan. That many cities are now, trying to find their way back to Africa, but that's not an easy issue. Actually, what's happening, and we have seen nowadays that many cities now have come up, on social media, even on YouTube, and we have many of them making the play that they want to go back to Africa. But this is a very discussed issue nowadays because even the city they don't know exactly from where they
cannot know. Because when you came as slave, how do you know your roots? You cannot say, I belong to
Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly. They know they are Africans, but from where? Where they are from?
But still, I think now Africa should take the initiative and call them back. Be it any country, Tanzania, Nigeria, Congo.
After the abolition of the slavery, many slaves found themselves stuck somewhere. Like these people in Liberia, they're from a country there. So by the same way, some people also were stuck here in India. So the issue is, if you even go back to the slavery itself, you try to analyze the way people were brought abroad, what kind of tactics, what kind of techniques were used, even some people had the highest bound, because they could not see where they are going, otherwise they can try to take themselves
I
out.
can only say that now Africa should take an initiative, because first we are Africans, then we are Nigerians, and then some other nationality. First, we are Africans.
Exactly.
We are united.
Exactly.
For many years, the Sidis have lobbied to obtain the coveted status of scheduled tribe. To compensate for the ingrained inequalities of the caste system, the Indian Constitution introduced preferential treatment for historically disadvantaged sections of the population. This coveted status provides access to reserved quotas of the government jobs, quotas in state schools, bursaries, and subsidized housing.
Yeah, exactly. Many cities have been lobbied for many years now to get some special status, like we said in the beginning of this show. And like even we said, the Sidis, especially from Karnataka, have been granted an opportunity to be called OBC, other backward caste. And as we said in the beginning of this program, one of the issue is once they grant them such kind of position, you just ask yourself, how many people here in India are lobbying in a category called OBC? Millions and billions of them. So it means, like I said, opportunities are almost minor, for such kind of categories, So, but like Noah said, Africa should take the initiative, to bring these people back. And I think this is a very discussed issue, even in the CD community themselves. Among the CD themselves, some of them call themselves Africans, and they even say they want to go back to Africa. But you have some of them. Exactly, that's what you just mentioned, And there is another part of the CD who said, we are Indian. We have been here for over 8 centuries. This is exactly where we have opportunities. We are not going anywhere, And I even had that comment of that CD lady I read somewhere on the internet. She said, we don't want Africa, because if we go back to Africa, we'll have less privilege. But still here in India, with the struggle, we have some good opportunity.
But I can understand how that woman feels, because when you have been in a country for over 8 centuries, you feel home, you feel at home. I guess we can say they are Indians because they have been here for so long. Some of them in Africa, they won't find themselves home, and it will be difficult to integrate and all that.
Exactly. And if you also think in such a way, you ask yourself the question, suppose if we grant these people, the CDs, an African identity today, I think this is only going to complicate any further, their integration in India, as you said.
Exactly, Richie. Sidis made it clear that they do not want to be identified as Africans, because as Negroes, they would stand little chance of getting a job.
Exactly.
On the other hand, there is a widespread recognition among Sidis that we are Indians now, but we do not have African blood. At the Goa conference, Siddis from various parts of India met for the first time. Delegations came from Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka to celebrate their African heritage with songs and dance. But most importantly, to strategize for a better future.
Exactly, and many CDs nowadays made it clear. They made it clear as what they need most nowadays is jobs, housing, and a better education opportunity for the children. I think that the basic need everyone will have. Because even when you try to settle a community, even when you try to start a country, to start a territory, these are the basic needs. Education, job, housing. These people still don't have. And I still recall that lady, telling that filmmaker. The name of the filmmaker was Beheroz Shroff in Mumbai. So she said, "I can hate your books and movies. What I want is job." Exactly, by people, because they have been targeted by many.
I should have been in her place. I should have said, "Oh, okay, I can't eat your books and movies."
Exactly. Because even what the CDs have understood today is that they are being targeted, by movie makers, by documentary makers. They need to come to them. But she said, "I'm not going to hate your movies and book. What people need,
They need a job, they need good placement and all that, of course.
So what people need is job, education, and housing. These are the demand of the cities."
Few details are known about the involvement of the cities in the international politics, but in 1984, a few hundred cities in northern Karnataka gathered for a rally to demand the release of Nelson Mandela, and they had read the media report that Nelson Mandela was a champion of the rights of black people and wanted to know why he was in prison for his beliefs.
I mean, that's the love for Africans. I mean,
Yeah, and they
for
really
the
need to
African
know,
country, for their country.
Yeah,
In 1990, Krishna Sidi learned of Mandela release from Robben Island, and he wrote him a letter explaining that the cities of India also face discrimination. That is what he said. "If you ever come to India, please come and visit us, Sidis."
Exactly, that is signature. First of all, as Africans, I can just sense, during that time, they had the news, they had the report that Mandela was still being held, So they made this play that we want Mandela be released, And once Mandela came out of jail, like you said, they just told Mandela, there are some people here in India, black as you, called the CDs. So what I can read from it is that they tried actually during that time to say that we are still facing also.
I think he's asking for help. We can say he's asking for help.
Yeah, exactly. So that was some kind of saying, we are also facing such kind of situation. We need your help now as you have been freed. So that letter, like you said, written by Krishna Sidi, it reached actually the Indian embassy in Pretoria in South Africa, and Mandela even replied. That's the most amazing part of the story. Mandela replied to the letter asking for more details.
But I know there's a but.
Exactly. Now suddenly, what happened is now there was no reply. Because Krishna Sidi didn't know English. He had to use a translator, to write to Nelson Mandela. So after Mandela asked for more details, Krishna Sidi, unfortunately, he couldn't reply, because during that time his translator actually left the town. So exactly, Mandela, after being released, eventually he paid several visits to India, but Krishna Sidi was from North Karnataka. He was never among the people Mandela met. That is what is sad.
That is really sad, Richie.
Yeah. In honor of the famous guests from South Africa, the government in New Delhi staged a performance by a Sidi musical group from Gujrat who dressed in fake Zulu outfits and performed Zulu dance.
That was a showcase, that they had actually the sense to give the image that they are real Africans, So they had even to make these fake Zulu dresses, just to impress Nelson Mandela.
So did he come to know that they are the Siddis?
Yeah.
He came to know about them.
He came to know about them, that they are the CD, but unfortunately the one who even started the movement, the one who written the letter, Krishna Sidi himself, he was never among these people. This is what is sad, and we don't even know nowadays what is his whereabouts,
That's sad. Well, the long fight for Sidis in India is far from resuming. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for staying with us. If you like the show, please support our pages on Facebook and Twitter. You can also get the show on YouTube. Watch, like, and share. Outlook Africa is over for today. Goodbye from Noida.